Hello and welcome to another review of a film that I've seen on Mubi. This time I'm reviewing the film Decision to Leave, directed by Park Chan-wook. So this film is 2 hours and 20 minutes and I have to say it felt long. It was really inconsistent in the way it engaged me. At times I felt it was really good and at other times I just felt I was disengaging from it. Now the film does use confusion, and this is part of why I enjoyed the film, but at times I was just too confused and drifting too much. And there's one time when one of the characters says to the other, "Why don't you answer me straight? This is so frustrating." And I thought, yes, this is exactly what I feel. I have thought about the film a bit since I've seen it, so that's always a good sign when a film stays with me and it feels like it's about more than I might have realised the first time I've watched it. I've been thinking about the title, Decision to Leave, and what this film is about. I think primarily this film is about obsession and finding fulfillment in an empty life. Our female character, who's a murder suspect, Seo Ray, her need for attention, it's almost like a child being naughty to get attention. She's deliberately taking actions that will keep the policeman's interest in her. And we've got the detective, Hae Jun, who is clearly in a marriage that isn't a happy one. And the question is really around whether he should leave that marriage, I guess. I still don't really understand the title Decision to Leave. The female character, Seo Ray, does explicitly use the phrase at one point, but it still fell short of really kind of coming together for me. It does feel like the film has a deep meaning, which I've missed. And, so maybe I have missed it, or maybe it's just confusing. There's a quote from Confucius, kind of in the middle of the film, which mentions water and mountains. And we have quite a lot of mountains in this film. And water is also very significant at the end of the film as well. And so it feels like this quote is really relevant. But at this point, I'm still not really able to understand how. It is like the pieces of a jigsaw that never quite fitted together. And I don't need a film to be completely wrapped up. I like some ambiguity, but this was confusing in a way that I did lose interest and I didn't really feel engaged with the characters. There was no emotional investment. I mean, the only feeling that we really see displayed by our two main characters is obsession. We don't really, I never felt there was any emotion in this film. There are some really interesting features in this film which I did enjoy. It has some really dry comedy in terms of simple, silly things like the detective is climbing up a mountain with a man strapped to his back at the beginning, and this just looks absurd. And there's a joke around kind of sushi and premium sushi, and there's a whole thing around turtles. It's slightly silly, really, but in an interesting way. I thought the comedy made me smile at times, even though this is like a thriller, really. I also thought it was really interesting. There were some really interesting things in the way this was made, and our detective Hae Jun, when he was staking out the female character's house, he would be looking at her through the binoculars, and then the shot would be that he would be sitting next to her or standing next to her in her apartment. Now, he wasn't actually there, he was still seeing her from a distance. But I thought that was really interesting, the way it was done. And another thing that was really good, I thought, was the way that our female character, Seo Ray, is Chinese. And there's times when she doesn't feel her Korean is good enough to explain herself. So she uses the phone to translate what she wants to say. So she speaks Chinese into the phone and the phone translates. And it's just really interesting because, of course, we're hearing a different voice, and sometimes it's a male voice and sometimes it's a female voice. And I just thought that was a really interesting device that worked really effectively. I also very much liked the cinematography in this film. It is a beautiful film to look at, and the locations are fantastic. As I say, there's locations in the mountains, in the forest, on the beach, by the sea, and it's really stunning. So there's a lot to like about this film. Overall, there were things that I very much enjoyed about this film. It didn't feel like a waste of time. It's really quirky and the cinematography is fantastic. But at 2 hours, 20 minutes, it just felt like it didn't quite fit together. And so for me, it falls short of a full recommendation. At times, I did find it tedious. Next, I'm reviewing the film In Front of Your Face, directed by Hong Sang-soo. See you next time.